for now. We'll see each other again.
The year 2054. All that remains is washed up Pete Davidson, still making Staten Island jokes. John, was this one a win?
I think it was in a way that gives me hope for SNL and culture, that occasionally we get something like this. And what I don't want to do is talk too much about it, because I want to throw to Jamie, because I think there's a few historical touchstones with the show, connections you could make to previous pre-tape directors and some other melancholy material that the show's done over the years. So before I say everything that needs to be said, Jamie, what connected with this? Is there anything SNL lore wise that you feel this is kind of akin to?
This is Schiller-esque for sure.
Okay. There, I set you up appropriately. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. We got there.
You lob me
right.
in. You lob me something like that, I'm gonna hit it.
All right. Okay, run with that.
Yeah, I think it's Schiller-esque. Just the black and white feel, the sort of somber, melancholy, tone of the first 2/3 anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that we go to color, when he goes to sit on the bench with the writer, and right. they come back to the nightclub. The sketch is still really great, but it loses some of that texture and some of that harmony. But I really love it. I think this is a big win for Pete Davidson. If you had told me, so he went on a run last January, and the stretch in January and February, it was like the hue and cry of the SNL community was that he has emerged. He has finally sort of emerged. And I was skeptical, but I kept watching, and by golly, he had emerged. But if you told me that last holiday episode or last Christmas episode, he was going to be featured in a sketch that was 5 minutes long, meandering, and about, his sort of personal life and about him being washed up, and there's no way I would have believed you he was A, capable of it, B, that they would have invested in that. Mind you, they were investing in Chad sketches. Like, he was doing great Chad stuff. Great Chad call out in this sketch, by the way, when the audience, when Mikey Day calls him, dude, Chad. That's dynamite. That's dynamite. This was a home run for me. It was really good.
Absolutely. All right, Catherine. So it's still your show. I did a little diversion there, but
go back into your thoughts. You ceded your time, but
okay. All right. So yes, I agree with all that. Obviously, the immediate thing that you would think of is some of those, just more challenging and less comedic, more about a mood and more about a theme and a tone poems, really, that Schiller would do back in the day. Don't Look Back in Anger. I think if you were going to connect it to anything, they did a sketch where it's Belushi in the future reminiscing about all the cast members that he's outlived, in black and white, same kind of idea, him aged up to be an old man. I think that there's some inspiration there, a potential connection to the type of pieces that SNL was comfortable producing back in the day, that I would like them to be adventurous and try and find those alternative forms of sketch that aren't just necessarily like joke a minute type of vehicles. So for all those reasons, I thought this was absolutely great. And I don't know what else you could say. It was an unexpected holiday treat.
This was interesting. I'll be the outlier here. Okay. It wasn't for me. I can respect everything they were doing.
Millennials. Love you, Catherine.
It was shot beautifully. Pete did give an excellent performance, but I don't. Maybe this just isn't my style. It isn't my humor.
Sure.
But I definitely would have been intrigued to see how it went over with an audience. That would have given an interesting feel to it, because as it was, it just sort of was unsettling to me, I think. And maybe if this was if we had a normal episode and this was thrown in again, maybe that would have maybe I would have liked it more then, but just like with the day that we had and with how everything shook out, it just sort of, I don't know, the vibes felt weird to me because I was geared up for there to be sort of a melancholy thing, but then it wasn't that, and then like this was sort of sad. Um, I don't know. I think it's a good premise. They did it well, but it's just not my style. So
Yeah. Well, this
it is
whole
what it
show
is.
has been a roller coaster of emotions. So, yeah, no, I can see that because I think part of what either would make this sink or swim for most audience members would be a willingness to accept from the get-go that maybe this isn't a comedy forward piece, that maybe they're going
Mhm.
for something else. And I
Yeah.
think you have to, maybe it's just having a history with the show that goes back to where they could produce stuff like this a lot more often, that you see it and you withhold judgment until you figure out what you're watching, and
Mhm.
then you're not quite as concerned about whether you're laughing. Whatever emotions are welled up, you kind of feel like, okay, that maybe that's the ride they're trying to take me on, and then you can kind of embrace it more. So I can understand how it could cut either way very easily depending on what our expectations are and what our headspace is. So yeah,
Right.
I don't think it would be a slam dunk for everyone if on a normal night. But as a 10-1, I think it should have found its way into the show one way or the other.
Yeah, I could see
Agreed.
that. Maybe I'll watch it again in a few days and really like it.
Come on, just do it. All right, fine. You want Chad? I'll do Chad. Okay.
Let's talk about our best sketch. And I think everything's on the table. It doesn't have to be a new one. It can be a repeat. So Jamie, what's your best sketch?
I think the best sketch of the night, I am going to put up a little fence around the new material, and because otherwise it's just not fair.
Sure.
So the fence around the new material, I think Pete in 2054 was stellar. I think that's something that, during the 100th season of SNL, when Pete passes away, that'll be the sketch they play,
His in
to
memoriam.
to show off his bona fides. And yeah, I think it was really good.
Mhm.
I enjoyed that. I'll definitely revisit that.
John, what are you gonna give to?
I'm torn because I want to give it to um 2054 Pete Davidson thing, because I really like when the show takes a swing like that. And, someone had to be able to pitch that and sell it from the script for people to
Mhm.
understand that there was going to be brilliance when they actually built the visuals to support the vision. And, I think those things just don't cut through as much as they need to. And I think sometimes that just is because the writing staff is in a particular groove with what they're comfortable with. And so they aren't looking to explore other things. So if this is just a result of just a writing room that is supporting these kind of endeavors, and there's a few players in the writing room that are championing these and have a voice for this kind of more outside the box stuff, I just want to applaud it. So I want to give it to that. But I did laugh more at the socks. Like, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. So somewhere between those two, I was having a lot of fun.
Okay, but you have to pick one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go with 2054 because, like I said,
Okay.
I feel like that's the bigger achievement of the night.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, up next we got to talk about the MVP. John, who's your MVP?
I'm going with Pete Davidson. Because I buy into the narrative. Like Jamie, you were talking about how sort of around this time last year, people were like, man, he's really having a solid run and they're throwing a lot of challenging stuff at him. And has he been taking some lessons at, UCB or something? Like, there was a sense that Pete finally cracked SNL, like finally, found his
Mhm.
groove. And, it's been a crazy few years to really be able to put our finger on exactly, where he's at in his performance abilities, and how history is going to remember him. Just because the show has been, it's run the gamut from the at-home editions to what we watched there yesterday. But I feel like that narrative is true. He came on the show because he was kind of the kind of the flavor of the week in the stand-up community in New York. Like, he was very young, but he was distinguishing himself, but nobody knew, whether he could thrive at SNL, but they knew that they needed like a resident young person. They knew that he could carry Weekend Update parts. Like, they knew that he could slot into that sort of coveted stand-up turned SNL performer spot that, a few of the greats have occupied over the years. And, for a long time, I wasn't sold on whether he would ever really crack SNL. And then on top of that, you had all of the emotional highs and lows of just, his personal life and some of the struggles that he has. So, I just can't help but be rooting for him at this point. To watch him, carry that sketch and find all of the, emotional depth you need to find to make it work tonally the way that it worked. And, yeah, just to see that the show has confidence in that, and they know that there's a performer in Pete Davidson that they can explore that kind of challenging material with and create something that really works. He's a part of that. You can't downplay Dan Buell and Stephen Castillo. There's you got to appreciate everyone that was bringing something creative to that. But Pete Davidson definitely carried it, and I think that's worth a nod.
If you want to see our full sketch-by-sketch review, search for SNL Afterparty on Patreon or Subscribestar.com.